For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
WFO! It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO. What's going on? Joe Castello back with you. We got Alan Reinhart going to join us today and take questions, talk about the season, kind of move into the winter break. It's a big week for me. I'll be helping host the PRI Trade Industry Week. That is an online group of seminars. You can definitely search PRI Trade and find out. We're going to talk drag racing later on in the week. Next week is PRI. And so we'll be heading out to Indianapolis, Indiana for the PRI Trade Show. Lots of big NHRA news going to break out there. Always does. And we'll connect with all our great friends. I'll be in the Total Seal booth, of course. All kinds of good stuff going on. Reinhart just minutes away. But I do want to get everybody aware, make sure that you guys are up to speed, if you will, on the people that make WFO Radio possible. Want to tick through our sponsors, of course. Then we'll take your questions and we'll go. You're probably wondering, you're saying to yourself, though, hey, man, this is early today. It is early. And I will explain why on this given show it is a little early. This is commentary for the live audience, honestly. Live audience. We got two audiences. The live audience that are, bored and doing what they're doing. The corporate time stealing weasels that want to take about 45 minutes off and watch a little drag racing talk. Sure. But then there's the after the fact on-demand audience, right? Who doesn't care that the show was an hour early or an hour later at a different time. That's just the way it is. I do want to mention Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, bizarre day, bizarre time, but we're doing it because we want to catch up with Brittany Force, the 2022 Top Fuel World Champion, two-time Top Fuel World Champion. Brittany Force going to be joining us 6:30 p.m. Eastern time Wednesday, which is tomorrow. We're going to hear from Brittany and kind of like, I don't want to call it a happy hour, but it'll be at that time of the day. Folks that make WFO Radio possible, Bernie's Speed Shop, American Classic Horsepower up there in Ocala, Florida. Whether you want a full frame off restoration or your windows tinted, whether you want to buy or sell, they have got inventory. Go to Bernies.com, follow them on social media, and definitely check out what they got. We'll be connecting with Josh Hart during the winter break, but 2 seasons, he claimed it was a little bit of a sophomore slump. I don't know. I think that going to so many other tracks for the first time were new challenges. But a great year for Josh Hart. Bernies.com on board with WFO Radio. Go check them out, browse, and maybe you want to get something for Christmas. You could find it there. Phillips-Connect.com. Wow, what a year they had. Phillips Connect contending to the final race for the World Championship. But it's really about educating people about smart trailer technology and keeping loads safe and people safe out there on the roads and the highways for people in the transportation industry. Do some research. Check it out. Phillips Connect. Phillips-Connect.com, their website. And thanks to the folks at Phillips. Mentioned FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. I'm wearing their shirt today. I'll be hanging out with them a little bit out there at PRI. Paul Lee, Krista Baldwin, the whole team. They've got a conglomerate of, driveline related companies. But for the FTI, it's automatic transmissions and torque converters, not just for .90 cars, although they dominate there. Big money bracket cars. But if you need a shift kit for your Turbo 350, they do that too. They're located in DeLand, Florida. And I would go to the web, FTIperformance.com, to find out more information. You're about to go through your transmissions. Ask about FTI. Find out what they can do for you. And then, of course, Total Seal Piston Rings. We'll be doing hidden horsepower, PRI booth number 1525. It has been that number for ages. We're going to hear from Hartford next week as we get ready. And Total Seal having Cyber Monday stuff going on. If you're going to refresh your engine, which I know you are, you definitely want to have Total Seal and ask about the most up-to-date technology. They got it going on. Big thanks to them. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about the WFO store and how to get subscribed to everything. But right now, let's go out to Tucson, Arizona. Alan Reinhart, what's up, AR? How are you?
I've had better weeks, but I think I'll get through it.
Oh, no. Well, it's only Tuesday at 12 noon. How could things have gone so sideways?
It was actually over the weekend. One of my childhood friends passed away this weekend, and it was kind of a shock. He was actually stopped by last week and had a beer and caught up and traded car stories, and like everything's fine. And then Saturday night, he passed away. So it's been a little bit of a rough weekend.
My deepest condolences to you. Now that you mention it, I recall, and this is like, seeing your tweet, right? Like, oh my gosh, Alan had a personal loss and then went about my own business. And I'm sorry, that is terrible. The way it's happening, though, it makes me think of Bear Pritchett, right? Gary's dad passed away. I just saw him, like, hey, what's up? Looked okay. And he has passed away. And I think about Gary, and I think about you, like we're at that point in our lives, 50s, 60s, the people we hung out with a little older, but still shocking. Like if you see someone, you hang out, they look okay. Next week, they're not with us anymore.
Yeah, it really was a shock because I got a note from somebody, a mutual friend from back in the day on Sunday that said, hey, I just heard this. Is it true? And I said, no, it can't be. I just saw him a couple days ago. And then it turns out it was, but it's just a bad deal. I mean, I feel, for his kids especially, his mom is still alive also, but and his kids are grown and they're out of the house, and I mean they're on their own and doing well. But it's just the day you lose your dad sucks. And Mark and I have known each other since we were 5 or 6 years old. And, obviously, life happens and blah blah blah. So we weren't as close as we were when we were 15, but we still kept in pretty regular contact. And it's just going to be weird to not have him at the Christmas party this year.
Yeah, and there's no positive way to say it. You and I talk about this a lot, like when we're, sitting around, like the day that I lose my father, whenever it happens, like I'm dreading it now, like, and trying to make sure that when that day happens, I can say, well, I did everything with him as much as is possible. And we've got a great relationship, but like you say all the time, right? The wisdom of Reinhart, nobody's getting out of here alive. And there's nothing more true than that. We all get this time, some longer than others. You get to go on this journey. You make the most of it as best as you can, and then who knows what's next.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that was my weekend. But on a happier note, I'm going to try to start that later on today. I've been working through some stuff and checking on some systems and doing some, trying to get make it as positive an experience as possible, and fingers crossed later on today. Hopefully that thing will run for the first time in a couple of decades.
Wow, that is awesome. No, I love that your work and Project Cuda continues. Alan Reinhart, of course, this has been going on. This is a 10-year project, I think, the first time you mentioned that you were looking for a Cuda, and you finally got one. And I love that Joe Lee Stanfield is involved, and this whole little universe is all involved in it. We want to see that thing go out. I got to tell you, I have been to Tucson Dragway, but at ground level, and it was out there for a Chevy show, and I was working, and I didn't get to really see it. And that was before Mr. Hughes took it over. So the other day I was watching a TV show with my dad. He was watching No Prep Kings, and they were down there at Tucson. And so I got to see all the drone shots, right? Like all the aerials and how nicely the tower is painted. I felt like it has been improved greatly since I was there. Is that in fact the case? And I was studying it from above to determine, man, because is that 330 mile per hour quality racetrack? And it
absolutely.
Like it might be.
No, a number of the pro teams have come here and tested over the years. As a matter of fact, the Professional Racing Owners Organization had an organized test here for a few years, a while back. When Maurice DuPont upgraded his license before he came over to Pomona, he did it here in Tucson. So, yeah, the track absolutely will take that. And no question, Jim Hughes made a pretty substantial investment, time, money, and resources to spiff the place up and fix some things that needed to be fixed and give it a little bit of a facelift. But, the track absolutely positively can take 330 mile an hour cars. It's done it before.
That is awesome. That is awesome to hear. And, a little further down the road, next year being the final year at Wild Horse Pass, and that place is going to be like a blowout, sellout, final race craziness. But, who knows what's possible. It's nice to know that there is a, facility not far away that is at very least capable of doing the deal. And, we shall see. But you got a nice little racetrack there. And, my dad sitting watching drag racing all day long. I wanted to use today as an opportunity to give the fans out there a shot at questions. If they got a question for you, for us about this season, I've got a couple that I want to throw out there. But I think the news that broke since we last spoke was Angel and Vance and Hines parting ways. It was a hot topic on our Ignition podcast. We've got a lot of our WFO Patreons who are also, as much as we talk F1 and have fun, and I complain about the University of Miami Hurricanes, we're all drag racers, right? So the Angel news was emotional, sad. Like this is someone that is, I think, beloved in drag racing, but at the same time had a tough year. What do you make of it all? And just give me your thoughts. And I obviously hope she gets another opportunity.
Well, yeah, she definitely, had a tough year. And I think it comes down to, it's a results-oriented business. You are paid to perform, you are expected to perform, and you need to perform. And I love Angel to death. She obviously has got all the talent in the world. You look at her record and what she's done in the past. But for the last year and change, she just wasn't getting it done. And I think, sometimes you just need to change your pace. I don't think that anybody at Vance and Hines would say that she doesn't have the ability. And I certainly don't think that she would be throwing rocks back at Vance and Hines. But sometimes you just need to change, right? I mean, how often does a baseball manager go from one team to another, and then all of a sudden that's the spark they needed to get going again? Or how often is there a trade of one player that's, having a tough time or whatever, gets just a new fresh start in a new place, and all of a sudden things are well. So, it was an experiment that was, 3 years or 4 years, and they certainly had some bright spots, had some successful moments, but in the end, I think for everybody, it was just time for a change, and I think they're all going to be good going forward. Again, there's a lot of really talented people that are involved here. I think it was just time to make a change, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and to paraphrase the conversation we had, and I encourage everybody to listen to the Ignition podcast. It's audio only, but a lot of points of view, a lot of guests, a lot of points of views talking about it. But we came to the conclusion that, some situations are not for some people, and that Angel had always looked at Vance and Hines as like this thing. And we compared it to the New York Yankees. Like I have compared it with her to the New York Yankees many, many times. Like some people go to New York and it's just not a fit. And then they go somewhere else and they are great. And you can't quantify that. Some things just don't work out, but that doesn't speak about the person. So that's why I would love to see her get another opportunity to go somewhere where she's not constantly in her own head thinking about her performance, and she can go out there and just like ride, and who knows, that's what silly season is all about. But they've got a business over there.
Yeah, and we'll see where everybody lands and how it all shakes out. There's still plenty of time. I have a feeling there's going to be a whole lot of people talking to a whole lot of people at PRI next week, either trying to plant some seeds or trying to lock some stuff down and get it going for the next year. So I'm sure by the time we get to Christmas, we'll have some answers, and then certainly by the time we get to the middle of January, we should have most of them.
Exactly. All right, here's one from Scott, a.k.a. Pickle Rick. How do you feel about Gainesville being the first event, Joe and Alan? You go first, Alan.
I'm good with it. I think that, the reasons they did it, I certainly understand. And I think you look at it from an economic standpoint, not just for the teams, but keep in mind, NHRA's got 6 18-wheelers and a half a dozen pickup trucks and all this stuff going up and down the road as well. If you're going to go to Florida and test, and then come all the way to Pomona, and then all the way back to Florida, and then all the way back to Vegas, doesn't make any sense. In years past, when we had the stepping stones of Atlanta or Houston or stops along the way, you could build yourself a trail from one side of the country to the other where you're racing and racing and racing, and it gives you a chance to break up the 3 West Coast races so they're not right on top of each other. But with Atlanta being gone, with Houston being gone, I think that this just makes more sense, and I don't think that it's a permanent forever solution. But I think for right now, it certainly makes the most sense. Most of the trucks and trailers and teams are going to be in Florida in February. Why make them drive all the way to Pomona and then all the way back to Florida and then all the way back to Vegas when you can just make a little adjustment to the schedule? It also gives everybody an extra 3 weeks or so of preparation time because you're never ready to go to the first race. So it gives everybody a little extra time before it's time to go down to Gainesville, and I'm fine with it.
earlier this week, we had Cruz Pedregon, we had Angie Smith, we had Greg Anderson. That show is in the archive, guys. You should definitely hit it, those of you on YouTube, because they all had great things to say. And, Greg kind of said he was in the most I need to catch up situation. Cruz feels good about his car, and Angie, we started talking about the long break, and it's no longer for her, right? Like, her break is going to be the same as it always is with Pro Stock Motorcycle debuting on the East Coast. I think it's a good thing. I'm excited about it because the Gator Nationals is always a blowout mega super event because it's the East Coast opener, whereas the Winter Nationals we just had the finals. We just had the holidays. We were just there in that market. And so I think it's going to give the race fans who spend a little more time to recover from the holidays. NASCAR will have just been there. I don't know. I like this starting out with the Gator Nationals. We'll see how it goes. Of course, they can always change their mind again. But I'm excited about this. Gives us like a big pop right at the start. Plus, you've got the baby Gators that you'll be at. Wes Buck's got his World Series of Pro Mod. Like, the eyes of the drag racing world is going to be on Florida for about a month. And that is really cool. There's going to be a lot of stories. And plus, I live here. Not anywhere close to any of those places, though. I mean, you get on a plane, you get there quicker than I do if I drive.
Well, I mean, I knew that, because I live here was going to be part of why you liked it. But no, I think, remember, we started in Gainesville a couple of years ago when we were coming out of the pandemic, and the world didn't spin backwards. Everything worked as it should, and we got done what we needed to do. So I'm just grateful that we've got options and that we've got basically two super tracks to choose from between Pomona and Gainesville. Right. I mean, it's not like we're starting at Podunk Dragway where we can only have a crowd of 1,500 people and we can't run all the classes. We're going to have an opportunity for everybody to start the year at the same time. And by everybody, I mean all the way to Pro Mod, which never happens. And we're still going to be starting at one of the super tracks. We're just going to be starting it on the other side of the country. So I'm good with it. I think it's, I don't know that it's a permanent solution, but I think that, for what we're going through right now, you got to make adjustments. And so let's do it.
Well, let's see how it goes. And hopefully some of my great friends down here in sunny South Florida, we are, it's about a 5-hour drive for those who don't know, 6 hours if you're from the MIA. But it's worth it if you head up there. Alan, I want to know your opinion on Tony Stewart. First year, Tony Stewart, Nitro. Clearly they had a good year from where they were at this time last year. Like we talked about 2022 being a season of change, Antron going on his own, Cap's brand new team, Tony Stewart coming in, and to think the ground he covered, making the final round, driving himself in Vegas, like all of that, just kind of give a recap of the season and what you thought about Tony and how they handled it.
Well, I think when you finish third in your category, which I believe is where Hagan ended up, and you're disappointed, then you've got pretty high expectations, but I think they did well. They won in both the dragster and the funny car. Leo, of course, won in the Mile Highs, which is big because that's a Dodge race. And anytime you can win in front of your sponsors, I think that this is going to be a year where the dragster needs to pick up the performance a little bit. They started, and I know we've talked about it here, but in case there's anybody that doesn't know, the funny car team intact came over from DSR. So they pretty much expected them to go and just hit the ground running and be right where they were when they left off. And that's where they were. They were a good, solid championship contending, race winning contending car all year long. The dragster team, however, was brand new. Neil Strasbaugh had been a co-crew chief. Leah had been the driver. And I think just about everybody else on the team was new. So they were starting from scratch coming in and building that team. And they have now had their learning year to get comfortable, get together. And I think they're going to be better going forward. Tony, as an owner, knows because he's raced in other venues for so long that even though drag racing may be fairly new to him, he understands that even if you have the budget you want, the parts you want, that doesn't mean instant success overnight. It takes time for the team to come together. And he certainly seemed, from all accounts and from the times I talked to him, to be happy with the progress of both. And then the fact that, as you mentioned, he got in the car, made some test laps on a number of different occasions, but then got in the car in competition and made the final round. I think that set the hook even deeper. So I think if you had told Tony at the beginning of the year, okay, here's the deal. You're going to win, 3 or 4 races with the funny car and finish third. Leah's going to win. You're going to drive and go to the final round. That's going to be your season. If you'd have told him that in January, would you be satisfied with that? I think he'd have said a resounding hell yes. But then when you get into it, you always want a little more, and you want a little more, and you want a little more. So I think I give them a solid B plus for the first year out. Certainly a little room for improvement, but nothing embarrassing at all, and they've got something to build on. Now, anybody knows me, I almost never give an A plus unless you win every race, because even rating at the end of the day, right? How was the race? How was the event? How was the thing? There's always something that could be improved, and I don't ever see something as can't possibly be better than that, and that's where you've got to be on the scale for me to give you an A plus. But I think they had a solid year.
Yeah, that's drag racer mentality right there. It can always be better. And boy, does it frustrate some people, right? Like, no, it's good enough. No, it's never good enough. No, but it is. No, but it's not. It's never good enough. But I agree. I agree. What a welcome. He'll be opening up the PRI Trade Show. He's part of the first day breakfast, Tony. And for me, not that I wouldn't have been interested before. Of course I would have been interested, right? Like, yeah, Tony Stewart, what's he got to say? Now I'm really interested to see how he, like maybe our best ambassador now, new to the sport, wide-eyed and fresh eyes on all these different things that are in NHRA drag racing at a time where so much is changing and so much positive is happening. So I'm very excited about that opening day breakfast at PRI, and it'll be pretty cool to see. Here's one from Steve Brenwald. The test, right? The open test in Florida. Do you know when that'll be? I'm hearing some rumblings like during the week prior to the Gator Nationals, but I don't know officially. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. And if not, we can always update this when it's official.
I do not know officially. I know that there will be some teams going down there, not necessarily taking part in the big test, but that are going to be down there, whether it's Gainesville, whether it's Bradenton, whether it's someplace else that are going to be making some runs earlier in February. I would suspect, and again, I don't know this for sure, but I would suspect they would probably do basically what they did last year. The baby Gators conclude on Sunday and then open up for testing Monday, Tuesday for the pro teams to come in and get their hits. So everybody can just come in, get set up, be there and be ready to go. But I don't know that for a fact.
Well, let's hope that is the case, because giving them that opportunity to test on the same track that they're about to start the season at means it's going to be a better race, right? Everybody gets a shot and they get to go out there and they get to compete and more teams come down. You want that first race to be a big race. NASCAR always got that with their Daytona 500. Their biggest race is the first of the year. Scott kind of goes a little deeper into the season. The 2 4-wide races going back to back. Will that help the drivers adjust? I think so. I love this. Like, this is one of the 2023 season adjustments that I'm really into. I just hope we can get some, we have to sell it, but some sort of, if you win them both, bonus thrown out there as well. But 4-wide races, both back to back. That'll be first time ever. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I really don't think it's a big deal. I think we've run enough 4-wide races now that everybody's comfortable with it. When's the last time we had a real major starting line snafu in the Camping World Series? When we've brought in the Pro Mods for the first time, there were a couple of glitches, but nothing major. When we had the alcohol car do it for the first time, same thing. But I think the Camping World guys and gals have done it long enough now that I honestly don't believe that it's even an issue anymore. I do like the idea of some kind of a 4-wide double-up bonus, but I'll have to think that over a little bit. Let's see, what's 4-wide that would make a good bonus? A Kit Kat bar.
There it is. That is actually a very good idea, Alan Reinhart, because who doesn't love a Kit Kat bar?
Right, and like the Halloween size are 2-wide, right? But the regular Kit Kat bar is 4-wide. So somebody call what is it, M&M Mart or somebody else, and see if they want to get involved with us.
The Kit Kat 4-wide super bonus. We're just brainstorming here, folks, but that's a big one. It's up on the board. Definitely.
I'm gonna trademark that real quick before somebody else gets it.
Yeah, get to it. What is this? Do you think, Scott? Do you think the beer prices will go down in 2023? Cost me a fortune at Denver and Vegas. And as someone who goes to sports on a regular basis, the answer is no. My opinion, I don't know, but
that's a track question. NHRA doesn't set the beer prices. That's a track question.
Go to a stadium. It's expensive. It's part of the deal.
I do want to throw one thing out. You said, Tony Stewart being maybe our biggest ambassador right now. Joe, and I think anybody knows me knows, I follow NASCAR pretty closely. I've got a lot of friends that make a living over there and pay attention to what's going on. Last night on the way home from the shop on the late shift, Brad Gilley and Todd Gordon, somebody called in and asked, Brad, is there a race you'd like to announce that you haven't had a chance to yet? He said, there's a couple of them, actually. He said, Daytona 500, because he's a PRN guy and that's an MRN thing. And he said, but, off the reservation a little bit, he said, I grew up in Texas. I'd love to go announce the race at the Texas Motorplex. And I called in and I said, tell me when. You can come anytime. You want to come join me. You name the track, you name the place, I'll set it up. And so when we talked for probably 10 minutes on NASCAR radio, chit-chat a little NHRA, but I was very surprised to find out that Brad Gilley is a closet drag race fan.
Well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Wheels, engine, driver.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into that, you can relate one way or another. Drag racing kind of gets, I feel, disrespected because we don't turn. And it's like, well, those guys are turning and these guys are not turning. And so that must be harder than this. And it's just a totally different thing.
It's like saying throwing a baseball is harder than throwing a football. They're different.
It's just different. It's different situations, different everything, but one doesn't have to be harder than the other. And when you start digging into the little details, and that's where Tony is doing a great job, like all these thousands of details, and every one of them has to be right, or you're probably not going to win, or maybe they'll be terrible and you'll win anyway because the other person was worse. It's just such a bizarre situation, but you got to drag it up to the starting line. You got to get the job done. Either way. That's interesting, though. Reinhardt's trying to, get rid of my job. Gilley's got a job already, Reinhardt.
I'm trying to get invited over to NASCAR.
Oh yeah, exactly. What up, those guys? That would be fun, except being up on one of those perches. No thanks. High above the turns, like Mike Bagley. He's up there on this little rickety deal. I actually got to go up there with Bagley, turn 3, Homestead Miami Speedway several years back, up into the crow's nest. Yeah, I mean, great place to watch cars go by. You're hanging over them, but for 3 hours, I don't know. It would be an interesting experience.
Might be fun to try for a weekend.
Yes, definitely. Spencer, who's in line for the Vance and Hines spot? Herrera, the 2-time national champ, Shepard. But that's a good question, right? Like they're the team. Reinhardt, you're too big, man. You're too big. Sorry.
Oh, come on. They got a budget. They got titanium.
You're too big. Giant man. I mean, I like to see you try. That'd be fun. But they're like a Formula One team, right? To me, Vance and Hines is like a Formula One team where performance-based, hiring and firing, they've got people that they've got to answer to, and there's now a coveted spot available. Is it going to be Andrew? Does Andrew want to go back to starving himself? I don't know. Right. He looks too healthy. It is an interesting thing to think about. People have said to me, Joey Gladstone 100 times, Joey Gladstone. I just think that the relationship between Joey and Corey, unless they came up with some sort of thing, which they are already using Vance and Hines power, who knows how creative they can be, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think Joey would do an outstanding job, but I don't think that's the perfect place for him. I think that the situation that they've created over there, the people, the dynamic, turn the stereo up, have a good time. I think that that's the best place for Joey. And because they get their horsepower, they have an alliance, they get, any kind of support they need from Vance and Hines. I don't think that he would get more horsepower, more competitive parts, more than anything than he's got right now. I think he's in the best situation he could be in, and hopefully we'll see Corey back on that bike also.
Excellent. Oh, look at that. Jackie Frick is out there. What's up, Jackie? I agree. She nominates Hector Arana. Hector, what a
senior?
Statement. What? Yeah, no, not senior. Hector Arana the third, a.k.a. junior. What a statement he made, though. Coming out pretty much out of nowhere, winning back-to-back races. That's something that doesn't happen ever, or period.
I mean, I don't know. I can't see that. But then if you'd have told me, 5 or 6 years ago that Angel would be, I wouldn't be able to see that either, because it's, they've always been at war, right? I mean, the Hectors and the Harleys all back in the day and stuff. And would it be a great opportunity for Hector? Yes. Would he give up his family team and his dynamic and he's look at me, I'm the underdog, in order to go do that? I don't know. There's a lot of people that have the ability, but having the ability and being the right fit are going to be two different things. That's why I think me.
Yeah, Reinhardt is at the top of the list so far.
Well, they've been buying tungsten to make the bike heavy enough. You know how expensive tungsten is?
Yes.
It can't possibly be more than carbon fiber. So what would the difference be? they're still going to be spending a large chunk of the budget trying to get the bike to the right weight. It's just that they're going to be trying to make it light enough that I can ride it, as opposed to heavy enough that she can ride it. Hang on, I want to see if this is breaking news.
Okay, breaking news. Reinhardt's got breaking news. Do I have
breaking news? Your cell phone auto pay has been processed, and your phone will work again for another month.
Wonderful. Good job.
Breaking news.
Very exciting. What I like is that we're talking so much about Pro Stock Motorcycle, right? We've got open questions to an open audience. They're sharing, they're liking, they're thinking about NHRA drag racing. And this silly season story with Vance and Hines has captured people's imagination. My opinion.
How about Terry Vance?
Bring him back. He's as big as you.
Mm-mm.
No, you're bigger than he is, but
Terry's 50 pounds at least lighter than I am.
I was trying to not call him fat.
And I'm 35 pounds lighter than I was earlier in the year. So.
He is tall but slender. That does make sense. What about the new team owners here in 2021? When you think about Antron
Caps did okay.
And Caps, well, they both did okay, right? Like they both
Caps
did
okay. Caps did okay.
Best season ever for Ron Caps.
Above average.
Ron Caps on the show. Of course, Brittany Force, 6:30 on Wednesday. Everybody put it down as a reminder. Get ready. But a reward for being bold, going out into the world, taking on the responsibility, leaving the nest, whatever crazy analogy you want to use. They were both rewarded. Caps with his best season ever. Antron, amazing season, won Indy, won bonus money, finished second in the points. I don't know if it could have worked out better, but hopefully that gives others who may want to try the willingness to get out there and give it a shot.
Well, people have said for years that the only thing holding Ron Caps back was Don Schumacher. So I think we've proven that now.
Don, congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award. Amazing speech. And no, that's not true.
No, it's definitely not. And it's interesting because I'm not sure 4 years ago, if you had asked Ron Caps, hey, do you see team ownership in your future, that the answer would have been yes. Antron has always kind of angled that way, right? At some point when I quit driving, I want to do this. I don't know that was ever really part of the Caps plan. But then when things start changing behind the scenes and opportunities, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe I could do this. Can we make it financially viable? Does it make sense? Is it something? And obviously it's still a pretty big leap of faith when you're shoving all your eggs in that one basket and going for it. But surely it worked out this year, and they're keeping the team pretty much intact. And I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time.
Well, my opinion is that as much as we love this and it's wonderful and fun, at some level, somewhere, people need to be able to make money doing this, the professional drag racing. And you think about Force and Snake, two guys that came up, tough circumstances, threw themselves into drag racing and did well with their lives. But they can't be the only ones. There needs to be a way for a top racer to go through this arc and then give opportunities to others. And that's where Caps and Antron both are. If that can't happen, if you have to have a multi-million-dollar business behind you, that's your personal slush fund that enables you to, deal with every potential storm or shortcoming, that's not good for this sport. And so these two guys, and Rick Ware coming in, he's a different situation. But if these two guys, drivers, successful drivers who are around for a long period of time, if they can complete that arc and 5 years down the road be making money in drag racing and supporting their businesses and supporting their lives, boy, that's a great statement for drag racing. We have to be able to get there. And I think NHRA knows that. I think there's some things coming down the pike, more opportunities to make money with drag racing.
Well, I think it's there, but I think a lot of it is your level of commitment. I mean, you will not find somebody that's more committed to a sponsor than Ron Caps. And, there was rumors, whatever it's been now, years ago, about Napa getting out of NHRA, making the move, going strictly with NASCAR because the budgets are so big over there. And NASCAR, basically they demanded the money, right? If you're going to be on this team with this driver, it's going to cost you X. And where's that money going to come from? Well, it's going to come from NHRA. But because so many of the Napa stores are franchised, they're individually owned, and the owners were up in arms they did not want to lose their driver because Ron Capps does so much when he's not in the race car to keep his sponsors happy, to keep the franchisees happy, to keep the deal going on. And there are a number of guys that do that, but it takes effort. Okay, you look at Cruz Pedregon. How long has Cruz Pedregon had the relationship with Snap-on? Is it because he won 10 races in the last 2 years? No. It's because of what he does when he's not at the racetrack. It's because of what he does to promote Snap-on. It's because of what he does with the franchisees, whether it's his trackside hospitality, whether it's doing ride-alongs in the trucks. It's because he earns his money before he gets to the racetrack. And that's the thing that you've got to do. Now, that's tough for somebody like a Doug Coletta, who's got a business to run, who can't devote 45 or 50 or 80 hours a week to what his sponsor needs. So that's just a different dynamic. But what you're talking about is already there. The roadmap is there, but you've got to be committed to do it. You know, if somebody thinks that they're going to come in,
Garbage time.
Garbage time.
Garbage time.
That'll make my favorite Canadian lawyer happy. Every time he watches the show, he's like, "Oh, there's a trash truck today." And it's like, "Oh, no, sorry, we did it on Wednesday," or "Sorry, we did it." But, you know, the roadmap is there. The big thing is that it takes effort. And, you know, if somebody wants to come in, show up at the racetrack on Friday, fly out Sunday afternoon, and think that they're going to be able to command a multi-million-dollar sponsorship, and their only commitment is going to be, well, yeah, I'll be there when it's time to run the race, that ain't how it works. You've got to do more. And, you know, you mentioned Rick Ware, and yes, it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but racing is what Rick Ware does. He didn't come to NHRA because, hey, look, dragsters are cool. He came over here because he saw a business opportunity. And, you know, he's not in a position, at least not to my knowledge, that he can subsidize this thing for a few $1 million a year. He has got to be able to show a profit and to make it work, just like all of his other racing ventures.
Yes, and there was an interview I did on the starting line with him, I think in Charlotte, and he is very excited about the prospects of NHRA drag racing. And what I believe everybody is realizing is that the 5-hour experience, right? Like in the pits and the hospitality, you're watching them work on the car, you drag it up there. You've got this sponsor or a group of them. They all are walking up there I remember watching Mr. Epler and the Phillips team, like walking up with Justin and having the experience of winning or losing. And you're suddenly connected to it, right? It's not just like, hey, we're going to go watch some guys do something from a suite. Not that suites are bad. Suites are a good place to go when you can get in there. Certainly, I always try to weasel my way in whenever I'm at a sporting event. But being on a team and feeling like you're part and connected to something, I think is a real selling point that we have.
Well, even just for a casual fan, though, I mean, we've talked about over and over again. I love NASCAR, and I'm not throwing rocks at NASCAR. If you want to go sit someplace and watch an event and watch some exciting racing and watch, NASCAR puts on a hell of a show. But if you want to feel like you're part of it, if you want to experience it, you can't get what we give at a NASCAR race. A general admission ticket at a NASCAR race is not going to give you a chance to get Chase Elliott's or Joey Logano's autograph. But a general admission at one of our races will give you a chance to go down and meet Leah or meet John or meet whoever your hero is down there and, you know, get an autograph and take a picture and get that close. That's what we offer that nobody else does.
Absolutely. It's just immersion in the sport. It's not like, oh, look at those guys out there on the field doing their thing and we're watching them. And isn't it great? Wouldn't it be cool to be down there? I don't know. You're on the field the whole time. And we just got to keep selling that and keep pushing it out there as best as we can. Oh, look who is watching the show. Kurt Spittler is out there. Kurt, who is doing all those top end behind the scenes moment videos, doing a great job. Way to go, Kurt. How is Uncle Joe?
The best addition to NHRA's content package in the last year and a half has been Kurt Spittler.
See, Kurt, it's not just Logan and Courtney and me. Reinhart agrees. Kurt Spittler, 2022 Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely. The single best add to the NHRA content package. Absolutely no question about it.
Yeah, there it is. Way to go, Kurt. Way to go, Kurt. Look, Kurt's like, I'm sure he's blushing. All right, where will the first 300 mile per hour 8th mile be? Says Dave. Who's going to get that Phillips money?
Me.
Where? Not who.
Oh, where?
Gainesville.
Pomona.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Phoenix.
It's got to be Gainesville. the first 300 quarter mile, the first 300 eighth mile. First race of the year, they're testing. They can just throw some crazy stuff at it to try to get the money and the history, and to do it where Bernstein did it, same location, all the synergy and the circle closing and all those different crazy analogies has happened in Gainesville, Dave. They're working on it right now. Maybe
you just want it because it's Florida.
Yeah, that too.
All right. Well, you're responsible then. If we get swept out of there next year like we did last year,
oh no,
it's Joe's fault.
What, with rain?
Yes.
It was horrible.
It's your fault.
Yeah, but also though, you silver lining gave the NHRA Safety Safari the opportunity to show how great they really were, right? Glenn Cromwell gave a speech at the end of the year this year, everybody. And the thing he pointed out was like, I can't believe they did what they did. They scraped it, they prepped it, they did it like, at 4 a.m., something like that, and somehow got us on the racetrack. A miracle. Safety Safari miracle. Like there's Christmas miracle and there's the Safety Safari miracle, and that was it. And without the horrible weather, they would have never been able to show that.
Yeah, the problem is, what's going to happen now is that Glenn's going to go, well, why don't we just do that every race? We'll just have the guys fly in, Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we should be ready to go Saturday morning or Friday morning.
Who needs sleep? Well, look, the Yeti. Speaking of next year, right? This is like a good news story. The Yeti is going to Chicago next year. You know this guy. He dresses as the Yeti out there in Brainerd and various other places. People are already making plans to travel to Chicago. And yesterday, it was Cyber Monday. NHRA did a special. It was like buy one, get one 50% off. Hopefully all the savvy ticket buyers and travelers out there are already making their plans like Roscoe is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to Chicago too. I was very proud to be able to go there for the regional event and kind of like knock the rust off of the place a little bit and show that it's still viable, that we could go there and race. And I hope the Chicago fans come out and support in droves so that this turns into a regular thing, not just a let's take a shot at it thing.
Yeah, he says the best is Brainerd still, though. Talk to Leah and Tony for like an hour one night out in the zoo. Okay, nobody should talk to any one person for an hour out in the zoo. It's got to be short, quick conversations in the future, but that's okay, Yeti. Pro Stock going back. Greg Anderson, super excited about that yesterday. Pro Stock returns to Brainerd in 2023.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a good thing. That Minnesota's been such a hotbed of Pro Stock all the way back to Warren Johnson's days and, even before then. So it'll be good to have them back up there. But I also, I don't mind the idea of some of the categories rotating a little bit so that it is extra special when you get, when it's my year to be there as opposed to we didn't get an opportunity last year.
Well, that system has been in place for a few years. And now we're learning what it's like. Couple years here, couple years here, couple years here, couple years here. If you really like the category, and it's not going to be at the closest race, go to a different race. We want to encourage our fans to do that. I am guilty as anyone going to the Gator Nationals 36 times in a row before realizing I should go to another national event somewhere else and seeing more of the tour. And now that's the best part of it. It's like, hey, I know not everybody can afford to travel to 5-10 races a year, but you can definitely move around and do your bucket list race each year. And that's really how you see the tour. I think it's great. And if your favorite category isn't at your favorite track this year, maybe it will be next year or the following year. And that's the whole point. You got to move things around. This guy wants to know about ProMod. ProMod car count. Do you think ProMod car count will get better for 2023? Yeah, that's been interesting. The harder it gets to win, the fewer cars there are. Imagine that.
Yeah, where have we seen that before?
Right.
I hope so. I know that, there's a lot of talk and a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes and a lot of things that are very positive for the category. So keep your fingers crossed. I think there's going to be some definite news coming out of PRI. And then again, once we get into January and things start falling into place, we'll be hearing more stuff. But yeah, I do expect to see ProMod with some stronger numbers this year.
I hope so. All right. It's a great category, but it's just like everything else. You've got your hitters in there, Proline, Stevie, couple of real, you're not going to just get to win. You're going to have to go through guys that are already there and established. Can you do it? That is what's
part of the issue too is that NHRA is the only place that runs those cars quarter mile. So there are a number of cars out there that have an 8th mile setup, that are comfortable with the 8th mile setup, and that just enjoy racing the 8th mile races and don't want to have to change everything they did have to change to come meet the NHRA specs and to run quarter mile. So, if NHRA went to 8th mile racing for the pro mods, I think that would increase substantially. But I don't know anybody that wants to see that. I think that, we kind of pride ourselves on, hey, we run to the quarter mile over here. We're going to run these things 250 or 260 miles an hour over here. That's what makes NHRA special. That's why you should want to come run with us.
Exactly. And that's been the debate, right? Like, should we just run the pro mod cars to the 8th mile? And I agree with you. I disagree with that. I think quarter mile drag racing is another level. It just is. Well, it's, it's so expensive and it's so hard on parts and, they're going so fast. Yeah, I know, but they're amazing. And that's the showcase that is the highest level.
Well, one of my favorites is, the number of people that don't care for 1,000-foot nitro racing, but they're okay with quarter mile pro mod racing. And it's like,
or 8th
come
mile.
on, guys.
Yeah.
Or 8th mile. Yeah, they're okay with 8th mile. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, isn't that any names on what alcohol funny car teams are going to injected nitro, says Mike. That's a good question. Let's talk alky funny car for a second. I am excited about the nostalgia bodies, assuming anyone adopts them, and what's going to happen with the, super aero Camaro body. Like, we could go get a 77 Firebird like Cruise's California Charger and put it on our alky funny car. And if we're a tenth slower than the Camaros, we're taking it right off. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work out either. Aerodynamics obviously are going to be playing a role when you're traveling as fast as those things are now. Would a weight break maybe make a difference? Maybe, but then, you end up opening up a whole nother can of worms. I know there's at least a couple of teams that are looking at injected nitro cars, a couple of them in the Northwest, and I believe Steve Boggs and Tony Bartone are building one. Now, whether they're going to just absolutely, break it out and throw away the alcohol car, I couldn't tell you that, but I think they're at least putting one together to test with. And again, I know there's a couple of them up in the Northwest. I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know that we're going to see Gainesville, but I think by the time we get to Indy, we will have seen at least 5 or 6 different ones on the track.
Well, that will be cool. And so from my standpoint as a, a storyteller, if you will, like, people have got to have things to talk about. My goodness, we have so many things to talk about. Derek wants to know, when is Factory X going to debut? And the stories that I've seen, it's taken a little longer to get these cars built and spec'd out and figured out what it's going to be and all of these things. But they're going to start showing up next year, right? By the time we get to Gainesville, we should have 2 cars to run. And I spent a lot of time talking with Greg and Aaron Stanfield about this. They're heavily involved. A couple of people heavily involved in this deal. That is still my top level excitement. I want to see Factory X.
I do too. And, it got pushed back a little bit simply because all of the rule and spec packages you said hadn't quite been laid out yet. And nobody was willing to go spend the money to have a chassis built, only to find out that, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to, so everybody wanted to wait until there was an absolute stable, basically set in stone set of rules before you start welding pipe together. And as I understand it, there's about a dozen of them, or maybe even more than that right now, that are in some form of process being built. So yeah, we're going to see them on the track definitely sooner rather than later.
And Ford changed the Mustang, right? They debut a brand new Mustang, which looks different. So you're going to put a brand new car on the racetrack. Which body do you want it to have? Like the last generation Mustang that is no longer the latest, greatest? No, the newest one. Can we get bodies? Who's got a body? What are we doing? All of those things are part of this Factory X experiment. And what I would just say is patient. Troy is out there. He says blown alcohol is greater than injected nitro. He's just making a statement out there. Yeah, he's a big Severance guy. So, of course, he's going to think that. Woodburn's his home track. This is a guy that was just walking around as a normal human and started listening to a lot of different podcasts and stuff. Went to Frank Hawley's, did Dragster Adventure, then bought a bracket car, and has already been to a semifinal. We need about 10,000 more of this guy.
Right on. I hate that I'm not going to be able to go to Woodburn this year for the regional.
And why is that?
Because they switched the schedule around.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Here's one. Asking in general, are we expecting a lot of team member changes? And there always is. But this year, we're having this retirement wave, right? Like Rip and John Medlin and, like Uncle Les is retired. Like there's a lot of people that have been in their position for a long time that are saying, I'm going to move on now, which is opening up. Ryan Elliott moving up, co-crew chief on Cruz's car, getting a big bump. All of those situations. So, of course, there's going to be crew members moving around, but also some prominent positions opening up.
Well, you look at the Tasca team that basically I think went pretty close to intact over to Tony Schumacher and the Maynard family racing team. So Bob's going to have a lot of new people that he's working with over there. There's always some shuffling that happens during the winter break, whether it's personality based or performance based or money based, or it could be a number of things. If you've been in a situation for a while and sometimes you just feel like you need a change, put some feelers out, and chances are somebody will find a spot for you.
Yes, exactly. There are jobs out there at the NHRA. All right, Alan, that's it for today. Great job. Excellent work. I appreciate you answering questions from the WFO universe. This is pretty much how the winter break shows are going to go in between champion interviews and such. Now, I'm assuming you're not a big soccer guy, but international American-based athletic competition happening today. The United States at 2:00 versus Iran. Win. They got to Bob Lockett, right? They win or they're eliminated. It's over.
Okay. That's the World Kickball Championships?
Yes. They are kicking the ball over the United States, America, patriotism, international competition against other nations.
Not a soccer guy. And again, not throwing rocks at it. It's just not my sport. If soccer is your passion, then God bless you. And I hope your team wins and I hope you have a great time. But it's just not my sport.
Yeah, but it is your team. You're an American, right?
Then I hope they win, but it's not my sport. I can't watch a game where you watch the clock run out and then they go, okay, we decided to play for 17 more minutes. I'm sorry, what?
0-0 tie. Right, exactly. 0-0 tie. Well, we tie, we lose. That's the thing. We got to win. America's got to win. Otherwise, we're out. All right, Alan. Great job, as usual. Next week, PRI pre-show. And then, of course, we'll be off on Wednesday, heading up to Indianapolis. Hopefully, it will be warm, but regardless, we don't have to leave the building.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'm going to get to my Cuda. Have a good day.
Good luck firing up that Cuda. Later, Alan.
Thanks.
Be good. There he goes. Voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. I've got a couple things I'm going to put out there in a moment or two. Your comments are welcomed. Put them in the comments section. I do want to tell everybody that we would love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel because during the winter break, we're going to try to do more YouTube-specific type stuff. Let me move this over here for a quick second because I also want to tell you all, how about that? Just grabbing the camera. I know, terrible. I also want to tell you that for the past X amount of, weeks, months, years, etc., we have been putting some different things up in our WFO store, right? Not necessarily WFO logo gear. We've got that, and that was on sale just the other day, all kinds of shirts and WFO stuff, which is great, but more like books, and it's an Amazon affiliate store. So instead of like running all over Amazon, trying to think of stuff for your drag racing friends as gifts, why don't you check out our WFO store? I just dropped the link in the chat section. And for those of you that are audio only, Caleb was out there telling me, he's like, us audio only guys, we can't see the links. That is true. Go to WFOradio.com and just click WFO store. We got some books up there like the Snake book and Kelly Wade's Warren Johnson book, both of which I enjoyed greatly. Those make great gifts for your drag racing fan friend. Maybe they don't know about it or they want to learn a little bit more about some of the icons of the sport. John Jaduga has got a great coffee table book with all kinds of amazing illustrations. It was released several years ago. It's still available on Amazon. And, when you sell one, puts a couple of coins in his pocket. So go do that. WFOradio.com. Can you shoot me your email address? Well, no, the answer is no. I can't just give out. Joe at WFOradio.com is the email address I give out to the audience out there. So go check it out. Although hopefully it doesn't get overwhelmed like my other email address. Reminder, 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. nighttime stuff. Brittany Force coming on the show, 6:30 p.m. nighttime stuff. Speaking of WFO gear, all kinds of shirts and mugs and sweatshirts and long sleeve t-shirts and the Morris Motorsports stuff, Miami Hollywood Speedway for all you old school South Floridians out there. You're definitely going to want to hit that. We've had a couple of great shows, including Happy Hour last week. You're going to want to hit the archive and go back and check that. But the people who make it possible, a couple more of our sponsors I want you to know about, like Marvin Rodak, Gourmet Coffee roasted fresh per your order. If you haven't gone in on this yet, you've got to experience it. Our conversion score is very high, as in people who try it end up loving it. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin Rodak. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, of course, the Dragster Adventure. Send your drag racing fan, friend, or family member to the Dragster Adventure as a gift for the holidays. They can get a certificate and then pick when and where works best for them. Remember, they travel around the country. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. samtech.edu. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. So if you're wondering, like, what am I going to do for a career? What am I going to do for a lifetime? I love working on cars, but I want to be something more than, just a technician. I want to be a machinist. I want to work on engine blocks and in a machine shop, program CNC machines, tune EFI. They do it all at samtech.edu. They'll be at PRI. Check them out, samtech.edu. Plus Bernie's Speed Shop, bernies.com, FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, Phillips Connect, and Total Seal Piston Rings. I'll be in booth number 1525 at PRI. Be sure to swing by, say WFO. They've got something really cool going on in the Total Seal booth. That is a play on one of the great rivalries in NHRA drag racing right now, like an intense, heated rivalry coming together for a greater good. And members of PRI who go to the show are going to have a chance to donate to help a great cause, probably one of the best causes for racing and drag racing. But you're going to have to swing by the Total Seal booth to find out more information. And let's see what other people have to say. Blake says, I can't wait to hear from Brittany Force tomorrow. Me either. Brittany has had such an amazing season. This is her best career year, I believe, by far. She came out of the box running super strong, best driving, only ran Justin Ashley one time all season, beat him in a whole shot in Houston. Like, think about that. Then went into a little bit of a, can't really call it a funk, just no longer dominating, and was able to get it back in a critical moment, going out there winning in Vegas. That's it. That is an earned championship. Not that the first one wasn't earned, but anybody that really studies the stuff will say to themselves when analyzing that championship, well, Torrence had his crash in Dallas. And while that is as much part of everything, this was domination by Brittany. And she went out there and got it done and earned it in a very special way. And I can't wait to speak with Brittany Force twice this week. Once on WFO and once on an ePart Trade Industry Week. Let's see what Bobby Graham says. Be a machinist. You can always get a job. Isn't that true? Says Bobby. Monica says the T-Public WFO merch extended sale. What, Monica? Is that true? The stuff is on sale still? Well, go to the store, guys. WFOradio.com. Go to the store because like $26 t-shirts are $20, $20 shirts are $13. You can roll out of there with a WFO shirt for $13. Coffee mugs, just a couple of bucks. They got everything. Stickers, etc., and so on. So get on there and do it. All right, but here's the deal. Unlike Reinhart, I'm not a soccer fan either, guys. Do I like soccer? Not really, no. It's like the 10th most interesting stick and ball sport to me. Now, I've got friends. Jason Logan loves it. Everyone loves it. It's very intense, right? Formula One, not for everybody. But this is not about soccer. It's not about soccer. It is about America, okay? This is about the United States of America, guys. And our country is entered into an international competition, and the game that decides our fate is against, I hate to say this, but one of our most, arch nemesis. Hated enemy? I don't want to say that, but yeah, pretty much. Iran, not friends. Now, they've got some interesting stuff going on in their country right now as people are like, yearning to be free and all of that stuff. But that doesn't matter for us. We lose, we tie, we go home. It's over. World Cup America. We are now, watching from the bleachers. I don't want to see that. I want our country to advance. So at 2:00, I'm going to be watching the United States. And hopefully we can go out there and we can get it done. And hopefully all of you, you don't have to like soccer to love America. And that's what this is. And, do I go watch 4th of July fireworks every single year? Have I seen them before? Sure. Do I want to see them again? Yes. Why? Because of what they mean and what they stand for. and the good old US of A. Can I name you any one of the players? Any one? No, I can't. I don't study it that deeply. But do I want to see the United States of America be successful in this back against the wall moment? Yes, I do. Am I willing to go to the closet and dig out the Uncle Sam hat, which comes out only at 4th of July for this moment? Yes, I do. And so hopefully you don't have to love soccer. You don't have to like soccer. But if you love America, this is one that you'll put some positive energy. You don't even have to really watch, but send some positive energy to Team USA. And it's really a hard sell for drag racers. Although Brandon Bernstein is a big soccer guy, there's a lot of big soccer guys out there. But it's almost the total opposite, right? Instant gratification sport versus maybe no gratification sport, right? Like they're running around for 90 minutes and what is perceived as nothing may happen because they're running and they're chasing the ball and they're running and they're, okay, stoppage time, 6 minutes, it's over, tie, 0-0, you lose. That is the worst case scenario. You watch some of these other teams that they actually know how to score and they're shooting from outside the box, and you got Messi down there for Argentina. Like, there's a lot of layers to it, as you can imagine. But none of that matters. Like, you want to see the United States win or lose. I want to see them win. Well, 2:00, World Cup. Otherwise, the experience is just over. And that is that. And I would rather at least continue for one more round. Big thanks to Alan Reinhart for coming on the show. Thanks to all you WFO radio listeners. Ask you to subscribe, of course. Click the bell. Definitely. Is NHRA going to fly you up to Gainesville? LOL. If they want them to, yeah. But I like to drive. I like the Gainesville drive, frankly. Maybe one of these years I'll do the flight. It will be a different experience, but maybe it's not a terrible idea. We'll have to wait and see. Joe, do you know when Brian Loans is going to do his schedule announcement for 2023? No, I do not. The schedule for 2023 is out. So I don't really know what specifically you mean, but Brian is available on Twitter and will be happy to answer your questions. All right, guys. Appreciate you. WFO. We'll see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time with our world champion and top fuel, Brittany Force. Go USA!